I'm hiking near Boney Mountain in the middle of June after the Springs fire. This is my first time here since the big fire, and you can see it's all burned out. You can see all that white looks like snow. It's just ash. It's really amazing. But you can also see the patches of green where there's new vegetation coming right back up out of the ashes. Isn't that something? This all used to be completely overgrown. But you can see right through it now. And it's probably hard to tell on the video, but the fire went all, it just climbed right up the hill. That entire hillside is burned away. Pretty clean. All the way up to the top. And Boney itself looked like it was largely had a pretty good trim, except on the very top it was still green, just on the very top up there. But look at that, look at all that ash. And you can also see the handiwork of the firefighters. Like right here, of course that might have been cut after the fire. But I've seen, hard to tell, but I've seen plenty of them where very clearly they had cut down some vegetation trying to clear it out and get rid of the fuel in front of the fire. I just crossed over a wooden bridge. Anybody who hikes here will know what I'm talking about, right there on Sycamore Canyon fire road. And even the bridge was burned. It's still passable, but the railing at the top is gone. And there was definitely fire coming up from underneath because you could see a lot of the burn marks coming up through the wood. It's really remarkable to see this. I came in from the Wendy Drive trailhead at Potrero Road, came through Satwiwa and came down into the canyon from the fire road, the blacktop, and now I'm hiking back up on this trail. And from what I could tell on the hike down here, the whole trail is going to pretty much look like this. And again, every once in a while you hit this green, which is very striking now since everything else is just gray or brown. That was clearly sawed, but it fell over from the fire, you can tell. Anyway, it all looks like this. I'll take more if I see something interesting. Here's something interesting, because you can tell from this line of ash right here that there was a tree branch that had fallen there and then was just completely incinerated and left that white line of ash. Here's another thing. I find this wood underneath the bark that's just peeled right off from the fire to be very beautiful. Just the color and the contrast with the surroundings. And that's all over the place here. I'm also seeing more and more poison oak that survived, or else it sprouted up very quickly right after the fire, probably the latter. And here you might be able to tell how the that end face of the boulder there got scorched by the fire. That's all ash here, of course. There's a stream bed dry now, and there's the trail ahead of me. I've started to climb already to get back up. One thing that I've noticed is the almost total absence of any visible form of wildlife, any animal life, which is probably not too surprising. But what was surprising to me is the fact that the spiders somehow survived, because I have seen lots of evidence of these big spiders. I'll have to look up their names and maybe add it to the video. Lots of these spiders that are ground spiders, and they have a web that's kind of almost like it looks like a funnel, and I think insects get caught in there, and I'm not sure if they get stuck or if they slide on into the hole in the center, which is pretty good size, like the diameter of a half a dollar, and get caught by the spider in there. I've seen lots of those, not so much here in the canyon as up above, but all over, even in the burn areas. They were, because the webs were very easy to see in the absence of all the vegetation. They're all over the place up there. Here's another interesting thing I just noticed. Here's another spot where you can tell that there was a limb there that had burned away to ash, but notice the color of the earth where it had been lying. It prevented that reddish earth from being scorched black like everything else around it. So that's kind of interesting. Well, now I'm finding one thing after another. So notice here, there's the remains of a charred branch. The end of it is right there. But look at that, there's a big channel. It had been lying right in here, but that's just a big open channel now. There's no more branch left. It got burned away all the way down to there. Just to the right hand side is where there's a remainder of the original branch that was lying there burning. And burned out as it is, I still find it very beautiful. At the bottom there you can see the trail that I came up. And that's all denuded of the former vegetation. Except right up near the top. And Boney just sits there and says, "What, me worry?" And another thing for anybody who's hiked up here is you'll know about this bench, like this park bench that sits up here. It's been completely charred black by the fire. Burnt on the end there. Pretty much burnt right through there in the middle. Oh yeah, you sit on that, it's going to break. So that is the aftermath of the Springs fire that we had this year. So here's an example of one of these spider webs that I was talking about earlier. See, right in the middle, this is all burned area. This area here is all burned out. The rocks and the ground are all charred black. And look at that web. And there's the hole in the center for the spider. And I'm sure that that was constructed since the fire. There's a lot of those. At least I assume so. I wouldn't see how one of those webs could survive the fire. I'm looking practically almost straight down there. And I'm going to head back to the car.